Today I'll be explaining the trilogy of Five Nights at Freddy's, one of my personal favorite game series of all time. The information given today will be based on the 3 already released games and some information given by the game's creator, as well as some very slight speculation. The trilogy was released as follows: Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3. But in the official timeline, the story takes place in this order: Five Nights at Freddy's 2, 1, and 3. So let's start at the very beginning, which doesn't really even include any of the games. In total, there has been 5 pizzeria locations in the series, 2 of which aren't even part of the games. Fazbear's Family Diner was the first location. You could actually see the location in action during the minigames in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, where we can see Freddy giving out some cake to some children. We know this is the first location just by judging at the dimensions of the room. It's quite small. We can also see that there's only one animatronic working at the diner, which is Freddy. Outside this location, there's a child crying wanting to come into the diner when suddenly a car drives by and a man in purple comes up to the child and kills them. Additionally, judging by the jumpscare that happens at the end of the scene with the marionette puppet, it's safe to assume that the spirit of the child becomes one with the puppet, as they both have similar crying designs. The diner is shut down because of the event and rebranded under a new company with the name Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. We get a good look at the new chain of restaurants in the minigames that take place in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where we can see a Golden Freddy / Spring Bonnie animatronic suit. These were hybrid suits that doubled as both animatronics and suits that the employees could wear. This also takes place right before the bite of 87, because we could see the animatronics roaming during the day, to which they weren't allowed to after the bite of 87. These suits don't last as long, as 2 employees are killed wearing these suits, thus creating the ghosts of the employees to become Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. You can see these in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Now, why aren't the suits possessed like the other animatronics are? Well, because the bodies were taken out of the suits and the suits were retired and sent to the safe room behind the pizzeria. As further evidence, we can see in the minigames of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that Shadow Freddy lures the original 4 animatronics towards the safe room, where the animatronics are programmed not to go in, so it causes an error in their system, giving the purple guy a chance to take them apart. Having the animatronics taken apart in return frees the spirits of the children that were killed and trapped in the suits, but we'll get to that in a bit. Shadow Freddy being able to enter the safe room explains that he's not actually an animatronic like the others, and the fact that he's not in the safe room when we actually enter it, it explains that he's actually just a ghost. There's also a minigame in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 where you play as Shadow Bonnie, and you're given the ability to fly and go through walls, which further adds more evidence. Now back to those other 5 murders. After the first child was killed outside the first location and the company rebranded as a new chain, the purple guy snuck into the new pizzeria and put on one of the retired suits in the back room, specifically the Spring Bonnie one, and we know it's Spring Bonnie because of the recordings in Five Nights at Freddy's 3.
Hello. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right.
The purple guy lures 5 children into the back room while in the Spring Bonnie suit and kills the 5 children. The marionette puppy that's possessed by the child of the first murder then gives them gifts trying to make them happy. But it doesn't work, so instead it gives them life by putting the 5 children into 5 animatronics: Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy was an old retired suit / animatronic who had its endoskeleton taken out, thus why we see him slumped over and not able to stand, yet we see him move in the room in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 because it's still possessed by the child. Now, as we can see from the newspaper clippings on the walls of Five Nights at Freddy's 1, we know that eventually the animatronics start to smell of mucus and blood from the children's dead bodies being stuffed into the animatronics. The smell eventually gets the restaurant shut down for health violations, and the animatronic suits are retired, bringing us to the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, our first official game in the timeline. Now on to the third location. In the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, we see the words deactivated and dismantled. These words are describing the animatronics that got the older location shut down. We also see some new looking animatronics that are based on the toy designs of the previous animatronics. These toy animatronics are Toy Freddy, Toy Chica, Toy Bonnie, Toy Foxy, better known as the Mangle, and Balloon Boy. These animatronics are for the grand reopening and possess a new technology that links them to a criminal database that lets them scan for criminals to provide a much safer environment. During the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the murderer gets a job as a security guard during the day shift at the pizzeria. You can see this as in the second game, the purple guy gets a badge on his character sprite. The new toy animatronics notice that the purple guy is actually the murderer, as we learn from the phone calls that the new animatronics use parts from the old animatronics, so the original Freddy animatronic that knew about the first murder is now in the new Toy Freddy animatronic. The new animatronics start to mistake adults for the murderer, as we learn that they're starting to get more aggressive towards all the adults in Night 4 of Five Nights at Freddy's 2.
They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stay Anyway, hang tight, it'll all pass. Good night.
On night 5, we learned through the phone calls that the murderer took the spring Bonnie suit in the back room. During the murderer's shift, he kills 5 more children using the spring Bonnie suit. We learned this from the Save Them minigames, where the minigames take place at the 3rd location. This time, however, the murderer is caught on camera and sent to jail. The security guard you play as during the night shift is then moved over to the day shift on night 6 to work on one last birthday party before the place shuts down on day 7.
We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay? For now, just make it through the night. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself. Okay, good night and good luck.
It's during day 7 that one of the animatronics finds her frontal brain lobe out, getting the place officially shut down. This event is also known as the Bite of 87. The toy animatronics are then retired indefinite. We also learn that it's during this time that the murderer actually dies. When the animatronics were dismantled, the souls of the children were escaped and began haunting the murderer. No longer being bounded to the animatronics, the souls of the children were able to enter the safe room where the murderer was hiding before. The murderer found refuge in the spring Bonnie costume. However, because it was raining outside, water began to leak inside the building, and as we learned from the phone calls before, one moist breath could activate the spring in the suit, and it did. The leaking water activated the spring while the murderer was in the suit, locking him inside and killing him. Finally, on to the 4th location and the first game in the series, Five Nights at Freddy's 1. The older animatronics consisting of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are back for the 4th location. Considering that these animatronics are still possessed, they go on to try to kill the security guards. Eventually, the phone guy is killed by Freddy on night 4, but by the time you hear his recording, it's already a week too late.
When I did, hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm gonna try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
Eventually, you're fired for tampering with the animatronics, and the place is shut down. Move on to the year 2015, and the story of the pizzerias have become urban legend and very popular among the media. This causes a new horror attraction to be created in the year 2020 in the form of a haunted house called Fazbear's Fright. The owner of the attraction discovers a secret safe room and adds Spring Bunny to his attraction, that which the soul of the murderer has possessed and is now trying to kill you, the new security guard. During the game, you'll be seeing hallucinations of the older animatronics, but really the only real animatronic that's there that can hurt you is Spring Bonnie, or the possessed soul of the murderer. Now there's 3 endings you can get in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. You can get the bad ending where you're greeted with 5 animatronic heads with lights in their eyes indicating that the game isn't over and the souls of the children are still trapped. You can get the good ending that shows the heads of Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy, but without the lights on their heads, indicating that the children's souls are free. Finally, you can get the secret ending that shows a newspaper clipping that says that the horror attraction was burnt to the ground due to faulty wiring and that any remaining items will be sold at the auction. This completes the trilogy, but there are 2 more Five Nights attractions coming later this year. Currently, a film is being made that we really don't know that much about, and a 4th game was announced earlier this year. The 4th game comes out on Halloween this year, and it's been teased with 5 new images. A picture of Freddy's hat on a spotlight, a picture with the hat missing, and then 3 images of Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, looking scarier than ever. Hidden in these images are phrases such as the word nightmare, with the question, was it me, referencing the Bite of 87. As far as what the 4th game will be about, it's all speculation at this point, but my guess would have to be that it takes place after the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where someone possibly buys one of the remaining items at the auction, and then begins experiencing nightmares of the animatronics, specifically of the Bite of 87. Or again, I can be completely wrong because like I mentioned, this is all speculation. And that wraps up all the story and lore of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, at least for now, but there's bound to be more games coming out later this year, maybe even after the 4th game. So let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below, and if you guys want me to make an updated video once the 4th game comes out, let me know with a comment and a like down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.